I was sitting in my sterile, minimalist corner office, overlooking the entire downtown skyline, watching my family's beat-up sedan pull up to the gleaming steel and glass headquarters of the company. I founded a company that had just been featured on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. I gripped the smooth, cold surface of the magazine on my desk, the glossy pages showing a picture of my face, smiling confidently, next to a headline touting a valuation that was now closer to $50 million than the $35 million the title mentioned. My stomach was churning with a mix of triumph and bitter memory, because the entire reason they were here, the entire reason they suddenly remembered they had a daughter and sister, could be traced back to one miserable, utterly defining moment. Was I wrong for the way I planned and executed my complete disengagement from them, only to watch them grovel at my feet 3 years later? Tell me if you would have done the same thing, because sometimes I still wonder if the taste of sweet revenge is worth the sour memory of the pain that caused it. The story really begins not with success, but with a crushing, suffocating silence on a Thursday night. It was my 29th birthday. I had moved out of state years prior for college, and then stayed for the career that my family had always dismissed as a silly hobby. I was a software developer, building a small but growing B2B service platform. I had sent out simple invitations, a text message really, to my parents and my 2 older siblings, Sarah and Mark, telling them I'd be home for a quiet weekend and mentioning the date. I didn't expect a party, just a family dinner. I baked a modest, single-layer chocolate cake myself, put on a simple dress, and waited. And waited. I tried calling. No answer from my mom. A text back from my dad saying he was too busy with work, maybe next month. Sarah, my older sister, who was always the golden child, the one who got the expensive car and the fully funded destination wedding, she just sent an emoji. I sat on my small apartment sofa, staring at the cake with its single, unlit candle. The silence of the apartment was so loud it felt like a physical pressure on my chest. I finally snapped a picture of the unlit cake and the untouched plate, then sent a group text to them all. Thanks for remembering. I got no reply. The crushing weight wasn't about the lack of a party. It was about the complete, casual dismissal. I felt like a ghost to the people who were supposed to cherish me. I had always been the quiet, academic one, the one who worked 3 jobs through university to pay her own way, the one who never asked for anything. They took that quiet independence as a sign of unimportance. Sarah, on the other hand, was the charming, high-maintenance beauty who needed constant validation, and they dedicated their lives to providing it. Dejected, I decided I couldn't bear to eat the cake alone. I wrapped a slice in foil, grabbed my jacket, and went down to the small park near my building. I sat on a bench, staring at the night sky. That's when I met him. An elderly man, maybe in his late 60s, was walking his small terrier. He saw me sitting there with the foil, wrapped cake, and just stopped. He had the kindest, gentlest face, lined with laughter, and he asked me, "What's a young woman like you doing sitting alone in the dark with a perfectly good slice of chocolate cake?" I couldn't help but spill the whole pathetic story. He listened patiently, then he sat down next to me. He pulled a small, silver cigarette lighter out of his pocket, flicked it on, and held the tiny flame out to me. "Well," he said, his voice a warm rumble, "a birthday cake needs a candle, and every candle needs a light. Happy birthday, young lady. Make a wish, a big one." He held the flame while I carefully placed a small piece of dark chocolate on the cake, pretended it was the candle, and silently made the biggest, most ambitious wish of my life, that I would become so successful, so utterly undeniable, that my family would regret the day they forgot my existence. I blew out the tiny flame, and the stranger smiled, wished me the best, and walked away with his dog. I never saw him again, but that little act of kindness, that single flickering light, became the fuel for my fire. It was the only birthday celebration I had, and it was the most meaningful. That night, I made a decision. I cut my family off completely. No announcement, no drama. I blocked their numbers, blocked them on all social media, and changed my mailing address. For them, I simply vanished. I immersed myself in my work. My little B2B software platform, which connected small businesses with quality contract workers, became my obsession. I was already working 16-hour days, but after that night, I worked 20. The pain of their betrayal, the cold realization that I was utterly alone, translated into ruthless focus. I found a small seed investor who believed in the product's value, and with that capital, I scaled aggressively. The following year, the company's valuation hit $10 million. The year after that, we closed a major funding round, and the valuation soared to $35 million. I was 32, and the wish I made on a borrowed flame had not just come true. It had exploded into a supernova. My face was now on the cover of Forbes as the founder and CEO of a disruptor in the tech space, the magazine highlighting the company's unique culture and rapid 3-year growth. I still lived a relatively simple life, dedicated to my work, but now I had a public profile. The story of my success was everywhere, in tech blogs, on financial news sites. And that, of course, is how they found me. They didn't find me through love or concern. They found me through Google alerts and vanity metrics. The first sign of contact was a handwritten letter addressed to my new, very public corporate headquarters, mailed to the attention of the CEO. The handwriting was my mother's. I nearly shredded it, but curiosity and a growing sense of cold, calculated power stopped me. The letter was a masterpiece of passive aggression and manipulative sentimentality. It talked about how worried they had been, how they had thought I was out traveling the world because I was so adventurous, and how proud they were of my little side project. There was no apology for the 29th birthday, no mention of the years of silence. It ended with a plea to reconnect and an invitation to what they called a very special family reunion. I ignored it. The letters kept coming, alternating between saccharine praise and thinly veiled guilt. Tripping. My dad wrote one about how family is everything, and how he couldn't believe a daughter of his was famous. The final straw, the reason I finally decided to answer, was a letter from Sarah. It was a formal, engraved card, a wedding invitation. She was getting married to a wealthy, older man, a partner at a prominent law firm, and the wedding was being held at an exclusive 5-star resort. The card wasn't an invitation as much as it was a notification, a boast. Tucked inside was a separate note from my mother. Your sister's wedding is the perfect time to make up. We are reserving a place for you. You must come. After all, you have a beautiful dress for the occasion now, I'm sure. The sheer audacity of this, the complete lack of self-awareness, was stunning. They had erased me for years, and now were demanding my presence not because they missed me, but because they wanted the CEO of a Forbes featured company at their event. I decided then and there that I wouldn't just attend. I would make a grand, unforgettable entrance and a brutal, unmissable exit. I would give them exactly what they wanted, a public spectacle, but one that would burn them for a lifetime. So that's the situation I was in. I had built a fortress of success around myself, and they, the architects of my deepest pain, were now clamoring at the gates. I had the choice to ignore them forever, to let them continue sending their pathetic letters, or to face them once, finally, and cut them out of my life with a surgical knife, leaving a clean, undeniable scar. The confrontation I planned was not small. It was designed to be humiliating, public, and absolute. Before I tell you about the stunning way I arrived at that wedding and the conversation that followed, I want you to pause the video right now and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have taken the high road and stayed silent, protecting your peace, or would you have done what I was about to do? Use my heart, turned success as a weapon of ultimate revenge. Tell me your move. I decided to go full nuclear. I didn't respond to the wedding invitation. Instead, I had my executive assistant book a private jet to the resort's nearest airfield and a black armored SUV to drive me to the venue. I didn't stay at the resort. I rented a secluded, breathtaking estate nearby, complete with a security detail. I wore a custom-made, absolutely stunning black gown that subtly but firmly screamed, "I do not belong to you anymore." The plan was simple: arrive late, make a statement, and leave on my terms. As the SUV pulled up to the resort's sprawling reception area, the entire party, all 200 guests, including my parents and Sarah, who was beaming in her massive white dress, was gathered for the formal toasts. I walked in just as my dad was raising his glass, a speech full of false sentiment about family love hanging in the air. The silence that fell when I entered was deafening. My dad's mouth just hung open. My mom gasped, clutching Sarah's arm. For 3 years, I had been an erased mistake. Now, I was a public, undeniable success walking through their door. My entire aura was different: the confidence, the security detail, the clothes that cost more than their car. I walked straight to their table, pulled up an empty chair, and sat down, placing the Forbes magazine cover side up on the table next to my dad's wine glass. "Sorry I'm late," I said, my voice cool and even loud enough to carry. I had to close a deal on the West Coast. Just flew in. My dad finally found his voice, a shaky, pathetic sound. "Darling, you came. We were so worried. Oh, you've made such a success of yourself." He reached for the magazine, his fingers trembling. "This is wonderful. We are so proud." This was the moment, the proposal. My mom jumped in, her eyes calculating and greedy as she looked at my dress and then back at the magazine. "Yes, honey, we are so proud. And actually, your father and we wanted to talk to you. You see, Mark, your brother, he's always been so talented, and he has this amazing business idea. And now that you're so successful and you're in the right circles." She paused, leaning in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that everyone still managed to hear. "We were thinking you could invest in his company. You know, a seed investment. Maybe just $500,000 to get him started. It's family, after all, and Mark needs a chance. He's your brother." My dad nodded eagerly. "It's a family proposal. A chance to help your own flesh and blood. You owe it to your brother." I looked from my mother's greedy eyes to my father's entitled face, then to Sarah, who was just smiling, assuming I would, of course, open my checkbook for the golden children. I didn't laugh. I smiled, a cold, genuine smile of final victory. I took a deep breath. "No," I said, the single word echoing through the stunned silence of the assembled guests. I stood up, commanding the attention of the entire room. "No, I will not be investing $500,000 in Mark's amazing business idea. And I will not be your private ATM." I picked up the Forbes magazine and held it up for everyone to see. This company, the one with the $35 million valuation, was built on my back with my money and by my sheer will after I was utterly abandoned. I looked directly at my parents. On my 29th birthday, the night you all conveniently forgot about me, I sat alone with a cake and a single unlit candle. A kind stranger, not my family, a stranger, lit a flame for me. That flame became the engine of my success. When I needed a family, I was invisible. Now that you need a $50 million CEO, you appear with cake, flowers, and a manipulative proposal. I tossed the magazine back onto the table. "You don't deserve my money, and you certainly don't deserve my time." I looked over at Sarah, who had finally dropped her sickeningly sweet smile. "I wish you the best, Sarah, but this is the last time you, or any of you, will see me." With that, I gave a small, formal nod to the stunned, silent crowd, turned on my heel and walked out, my security detail falling into place behind me. My father tried to call out, something about being disrespectful, but the sound was cut short by the closing door. I didn't look back. The entire spectacle took less than 5 minutes, but it was the most important 5 minutes of my life. The aftermath was immediate and satisfying. The next day, news traveled through my extended family like wildfire. My parents tried to spin the story, claiming I was mentally unstable and ungrateful. But too many prominent guests at the wedding had heard the story of the forgotten 29th birthday and seen the magazine. The narrative of the abandoned, self-made CEO who refused to be extorted by her entitled family stuck. I was contacted by cousins and aunts who apologized for not reaching out sooner, but I politely declined all offers of reconciliation. I changed my personal phone number again, installed a new level of screening at my office, and made my private life completely impenetrable. Mark's business idea predictably went nowhere. Sarah's high society wedding, despite the beautiful resort, was forever tainted by the public humiliation of the CEO's sister who had called out their entitlement. They never contacted me again. The door was closed, locked, and bricked up. The $35 million company continued to grow, and my peace, which was worth far more than any money, was finally secured. I realized that my success wasn't the revenge. The peace I earned was the reward. The revenge was simply the necessary, final step in separating myself from their toxic entitlement. The whole experience taught me that sometimes the greatest love you can show yourself is the courage to walk away from people who only see your value when it benefits them. My success was the vehicle for my freedom, and the confrontation was simply the toll I had to pay to secure that freedom forever. It was a brutal way to end things, but it was honest. Was it harsh? Maybe. But was it necessary? Absolutely. I'm free, and they are left with nothing but the memory of the golden goose they killed with their neglect. Like this video if you were on my side and believe that self-respect is worth any price. Subscribe for more stories like this where justice is finally served. And please share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did I go too far? Or did I do exactly what was needed? I'll see you all in the next story.